Welcome back to episode 51 of Canes Local, your local podcast for everything Canes hockey. And I am back with my two colleagues, or cohorts, as my dad always says, my father, Paul Conover, and then Cam Conover, my brother as well, too. We are back and we are looking at a little bit of last night's game. We're going to kind of revisit the trade because at least I can talk for myself. I'm still a bit in shock and awe. I know game one didn't go exactly how we wanted it to with the new guys in the lineup. But I think there was a lot of positives, and I think there were some adjustments that we could make. So we're going to kind of revisit the lines as well, too. And then the Hurricanes announced that they will be staying in New York instead of traveling home. They were originally planning on traveling home after last night's game and then traveling back to New York on Monday for the Rangers game. They ended up deciding to stay, so we're going to look at where all the guys went shopping for their clothes that they didn't pack on the road trip.
That's right.
And then we'll talk about kind of what a big practice with two new guys is going to mean, because that's what it's going to open up. We probably are going to skate today. Wouldn't be surprised if we skate Monday as well too, just to get kind of the guys accustomed to the systems and accustomed to how we run things. We're going to spin around the league and then a little bit more later on, but I'm going to pass it kind of right over to you guys. MikKo Rantanen, first game as a Carolina Hurricanes. We ended up losing 3-2 in overtime to the Islanders. It felt a little bit like he missed home a little bit. I don't know. Maybe it was just kind of my feeling from it, but I don't think we saw the full capabilities of MikKo Rantanen last night. I think there's definitely going to be an adjustment period coming from a Colorado system to this system. But I just kind of want to get your guys' overall thoughts on what you thought of him so far and what we're expecting kind of out of him moving forward now that he's slowly going to be getting himself accustomed to what we do in our systems here.
Yeah, no, I think, and I'll start, Cam, if that's okay. But I think he looked like he was trying to fit into a new school. He didn't really sure where to go, what to do. But I think he started to get it towards the end of the game. I think second period, he was getting some good looks. He gets to those soft areas. I know everybody had an expectation. I think everybody unfairly had an expectation that, he was.
Oh, I did.
Oh, I know you did. I was kind of leading you to that, but I think he was expected to come in and change the world in game one, and I didn't think that was going to happen. Honestly, I thought it was going to be a little bit of a struggle, see where they fit, and we'll talk a little bit more about line combinations. But I think that's what you started to see towards the end of the game was he was finding those areas, and they were finding him, and he was starting to make the plays that you can see out of a guy like MikKo Rantanen. So I think getting a few practices under his belt with the group, and I think staying in New York is absolutely an excellent idea, getting the team to galvanize together and not have to go their separate ways. And so I think you're going to see a much different MikKo Rantanen in game 2 against the Rangers.
Yeah, and I'm presuming they'll probably try and practice today. I would imagine they'll try and get some ice today to practice, and then they might practice Monday too? I don't know. So maybe they'll just do like a quick.
Do you want to hear my genuine thought on what the schedule is? And this is just coming from, I think probably what happened is Rod said, you know what, you guys lost. It is what it is. And he gave them the green light to go out last night. And they went out to New York City and they had some fun. I think that's majority of probably what happened. They went out as a team. They probably had a team dinner. Some of the older guys maybe went back to the hotel, but the younger guys with Rantanen, the new guys, they probably went out, had a couple drinks, or had some fun. They might go and have a little light skate today. I fully suspect they're going to practice on Monday, but I think Rod, knowing kind of how much of a team-oriented person he is, I would not be surprised if, and as we said in college, when the coach gives you the green light, you get kind of a little bit of free will to go out and have some fun and not really stress about the next day you're having to wake up and not be, hungover or banged up or anything like that. I think I genuinely think that was probably the MO from Rod last night, was like, hey, go get fun with these guys. Like, let's go have some fun. Let's go make the group a little bit tighter, because that's you brought it up. Great point, Dad. It was like a new kid at a new school. The best way to get accustomed to that is to spend the entire day together, just get really, really acquainted to the best of your ability. And the one thing that I think that hockey guys do better than everybody is they're very accepting, and they want to make you a part of the group as quick as possible because they understand the importance of it. Where I feel like certain other sports, there's a little bit more clickiness in locker rooms, where I feel like hockey, it's all 30 guys or 23 guys or whatever it is on a given roster that have to come together to make it work. So I do just kind of want to ask you though, did we feel like Rantanen with Blake and Aho was really the best fit? And the only reason I kind of want to bring this up is it wasn't Aho, because I think Aho was, him and Rantanen were starting to work together. I think him and Blake had moments where they were working well together. I just think that Blake tried to force feed everything to Rantanen. Aho did a little bit, but you could tell Aho was a little bit more comfortable holding on to the puck and carrying the puck when he had MikKo on the ice. And I feel like MikKo was just like, he was getting everything in his hand. He was just getting every pass that could possibly come to him. And he was like, holy crap, like, I need to work my way into a soft area first before I get these passes. Like, I think that Carolina was almost just trying to overplay the hand of, oh, we have MikKo Rantanen now. Let's get him the puck any possible time we can and hope he does some magic. I don't know. Maybe that was just my vibes, but there was a couple times where I was like, why are we just go shoot the puck? We have an open lane. Go shoot the puck, and maybe something happens after it. Don't try and force feed it across to MikKo.
Yeah, no, I mean, Blake hit that one rush where he shot it right off the rush. It was a 2-on-1, I think, with him and Rantanen. So
yes, I will give him credit for that one.
He did do. I mean, he is taking his opportunities when he has them too. But yeah, I just think it's a learning curve. I mean, yeah, he didn't have any points, but he was a +1. Like he wasn't on the ice for any goals.
Yeah.
So that's a plus for sure. I really think the bigger thing is the Canes got to figure out the face-off circle now that Drury's gone. That's really what lost the Canes the game last night. If they win even half the face-offs, they won 30% of the face-offs last night, I think. So
now,
if they win half, if they go 50-50 against the Islanders, I think that's a 4-2 game. I don't think that goes to overtime.
Yeah, the only thing I will give the Islanders credit on is they're the #1 faceoff team in the NHL, and it's by quite a margin. So that's their bread and butter. Is they have 4 centermen that are genuinely over 60% in the faceoff circle, and you don't find that on many teams. So taking the Islanders out of consideration, maybe an issue that we look at further down the road if Jack Drury's not in the lineup. Maybe if it continues, that's an issue. I feel like it's like going into Colorado and being like, oh, your goaltending, isn't great because they scored 6 goals. Well, yeah, you also have Nathan MacKinnon and well, you had MikKo Rantanen, but you had all those guys coming down, bearing down on you. It's like, okay, well, in a vacuum, it's hard to say that was the 100% in that game last night. 100% the faceoff circle. We were atrocious and we couldn't win anything, and that was a massive issue.
Yeah,
but
no, it was one of those where you don't know. I'm assuming Tulski isn't done. That's kind of my 2 cents from it. Like,
really,
you look at last night, and both Rod and Tulski are probably talking it this morning, I would imagine, or some point today. Like, I know we got rid of your, basically your second center that you can rely on for, winning a faceoff. So they need to bring somebody in. So
what about Yost, though? I think he's over 55% in the circle this year.
Yeah, but he's not even close to coming back.
Yeah. Is he not? I thought he was skating.
Close. Yeah, no, they said he's still week to week. So
sorry, I missed that.
You can't rely on him. Yeah, it's going to have to be. I mean, they tried Yaska there last night. That didn't work too well. I mean, yeah, they just gotta. They need another. They really need the second line center. They really do. Like, as well as Kokaniemi played last night, I still think he's a third line center. That's not to diminish anything from him, but I still think that there are so many options out there that the Canes have the ability to go do with just pretty much a roster swap, 1-for-1 player that they can go get a 2C. I mean, look at the guy like Brock Besser last night. I mean, you go out and get a guy like him, you probably throw Roslovic and maybe a pick at them, realistically. And it's no shade on Roslovic, but like, he has some value. And I think the Islanders, but again, the Islanders are so random because Lou Lamoriello just kind of runs that organization with a blindfold on, so he doesn't really know what he's doing half the time, I feel like. And you never really know if they're in a rebuild, if they're not rebuilding, if they're tooling for playoffs, if they're just, kind of here for beer kind of thing. They're just there to sell tickets. Like, you never really know.
Yeah, so. I thought, maybe, and I don't know what Rod's going to do, but I think, let's during practice, I think they're gonna try, maybe some line combos with Rantanen down the middle too. I mean, he won a couple of faceoffs last night. I mean, he got forced into doing that. So, I still like him with Aho though.
I
I
do.
like
I
him on the
think those
wing.
two.
But if
Yeah.
push comes to shove and you need a 2C, I think he can carry the mail down that middle if we need him to. I still prefer him on the wing, but you never know. Like I said, I think we were trying to force feed him, to get back to your earlier comment, Kyle. Um, and I think, but you got to see him start to evolve into understanding where we play the game and how we play the game. And I think that was really one of the things Rod was really concerned about heading into the game. If you listen to his pregame, is we just got to play our game and let them see how we do it, and let them figure it out, because they're both elite pros. And I thought Taylor Hall had a really good game.
I was
He did. He
gonna
played
bring
really
him up
well.
right
Yeah.
after
I was
this.
very
I
surprised.
thought of the two, he probably had, but again, he probably wasn't getting the same matchup that that Rantanen was getting too. So
For sure.
so you got to kind of look at that and balance that out and say, okay, yeah, he did have a great game, but you put Rantanen up against the same matchups that Hall was getting, and man, it's a whole different ball game for that player, anyway. So
Do agree. The only thing I will say about Taylor Hall in specific is that the way he plays, his style is all speed and north and south. So his style just fits our system a lot more, and it's a lot easier for him to adjust. And so I was fully suspecting Taylor Hall to be the more impactful player the first couple games. Now, granted, I did text in the group chat because of pure excitement that I was like, MikKo's getting 5 tonight. He's getting 5 points. He's going to have an absolute, Canes are winning 7-0. But again, it was pure excitement and joy because I was just, Carolina has never had a player of this magnitude before. I mean, we had Eric Stahl Eric Stahl was an unbelievably good player. He just didn't do it on a consistent basis. I feel like where it was like,
we had no help.
Yeah, that's the other big issue too. But like, I don't think we've ever had this level of generational talent inside of our organization. Again, maybe Eric Stahl, right, kind of at the start point of his career when he had the help. But I'm just, it was just a lot of nerves, a lot of excitement. But Taylor Hall had an exceptional night last night. The other thing I want to bring up, Cam, and this is kind of just to slightly go back to your point at the 2C. Any line Kokaniemi's been on the past 5 games has been the best line on the ice. Maybe just me, but I mean, you go back to even last night, his line was the best, in my opinion. Him, Robinson, and Svech were probably arguably the most offensively productive line. Yes, they didn't get on the score sheet. No, KK got an assist, yeah. But that line per se didn't get on the score sheet because it was only KK to Roslovic, and it was in the midst of a line change. But outside of that, I feel like they dominated ozone time. That was the only line that I feel like had a reasonable face-off winning percentage. I'd like to go back and see what KK's face-off percentage was. But
that's what I'm looking at right now.
I felt like the stall, he struggled in the face-off circle mightily last night, and that's something we don't typically see.
That line didn't they didn't set the work.
That line had an off night for the first time in a while.
We're going to give them a lot of rope because they don't have many of those. So
no, that is a once in a blue moon type of performance.
Stall was 41%.
That's uncommon.
Jarvis was 50%. He only took 2 draws though. Kokniemi was 12%.
Oh,
in the face-off circle.
That's tough.
Reese locked in. I'm telling you, man. Like, but and it's not to, like, no shade at Kokniemi, but at the end of the day, like, as a 2C, you need. It doesn't matter if you're playing the best team in the NHL in the face-off circle. You have to be close to 50%. If he was even close to 40%, the Canes would be in a better spot. He was at 12% last night.
Even Juha Jaska was at 33%.
Yeah, and he only took 4 draws. I mean, he only took 3 less than Kokniemi. Kokniemi is 1 for 7 in the circle.
Yeah,
that's so bad. Like, you can't rely on that. And I go back to, if they put Jack Drew in that situation, he's probably close to 50% last night, for sure. And again, I mean, I'm not throwing shade on the trade at all. I think it needed to happen. It was something that, this fan base has been waiting for a long time, but they got to figure out that center ice position. They have to get another center.
Yeah.
They have to. Or they need to let Jarvis play center. That's my other option. Nobody else let Jarvis play center because he can play defense and he can win faceoffs. He was 50% in the circle last night. I know he only took. I only know he only took 4.
I took 2.
But No, he took 4 because he was 2 won, 2 lost,
Oh.
50%. He took 4 in total, so, I mean, he took half of what Kokaniemi took, and Kokaniemi was at 12%. And that's again, Kokaniemi's a great player, but he's not a second-line center. He needs to be third-line center. We need a new second-line center. If you're not gonna play Jarvis up with Aho and
Put him there.
Rantanen,
Yeah.
put him second-line center. Put him between Svech and Hall.
Yeah.
That's what I would do,
I tell you,
honestly.
the guy that I thought go back to your line combo, Kyle, about excuse me, with Svechnikov and that line. I thought he had an excellent game defensively last night. However,
Mhm.
you know, he made a little bit of a burp in overtime that
Yeah, that's Fetch playing overtime was
that
tough.
was a
Yeah,
tough one. You know, he played it like it was a second period, 12 minutes of the game, and he just tossed it into the middle and hoping,
not
you
valuing
know,
the
not
puck possession.
After just working
I
his ass
know,
off to get
I
the puck
know.
I
back.
know. I
You know,
know.
so that was the hard part. You know, you don't wanna remember him for that play of the game, but it's tough. It's tough because it led to the game-winning goal, so off a stick of a guy that we said we needed to watch, and I think that was, you know, that was a tough part for him. I thought he played other than that, I thought he played really well defensively. Better than I've seen him play in a long time. He made a couple of back checks that I'm like, "He's got another gear, and he just is starting to get there," and we know now he can play defense, so you better keep it up because it's gonna be important.
That's the
Yep.
that's the other thing that I don't think we mentioned with bringing a guy like MikKo Rantanen in is that starts to take away other people's ice time, and they don't like that. So certain positions that certain players will be put into, yeah, Marty Necas was buying up some of those positions for sure. But I mean, when we're talking about our best power forward, and all of a sudden it's no longer Andrei Svechnikov, and now he has to compete to be the best power forward. And I don't think maybe he has the capabilities to possibly one day get to where MikKo Rantanen is. I don't know if he does. It took MikKo a while to in his career to get to be a 100-point guy, but he always kind of averaged a point a game in throughout his career. So that's the difference between the two. Is Svech has never really gotten to that point a game level, but it creates competition in the locker room, and a healthy one at that, and it raises the level. So now our best player, and I love Sebastian Aho. He's a great, unbelievably good player, but he's an elite player. There's a secondary tier that's just above him that there's very few players that are in that is superstar world-class ability. Now all of a sudden our competition starts at that level. Now everybody's got to match that level, and that just creates so much just good tension in the locker room if healthy and if managed correctly. But we have one of the best, I feel like, team managers as a coach. I don't think he's and this is I love Rod. I think he's great. I think there's certain things that he's not great at. I think in-game management sometimes he struggles with. I think he gets better at it. But as a team manager, just managing 23 guys on a roster, I don't think there's a better coach in the NHL at doing it. So I think having him in there and allowing them to have that healthy competition, it's only going to raise the level of all these players. So I'm just excited to see that portion of it as well too. I do want to ask you guys though, going into Rangers game on for Tuesday. It's Tuesday.
Yep.
Yeah, Tuesday. Are we changing the lines? And if so, what are we looking at going into Tuesday's game?
I don't know. I think I really like the way the top line sort of started to gel at the end of the game. I mean, I'm a big proponent for Blake, you know, getting as much ice time as he can. So
I 100% agree with that.
I'm in for letting him ride the boat on with that group and seeing what they can do, because I think once they figure each other out, that line is going to be absolutely electric, because Blake is so defensively good
It'll be fun.
that he's probably the best defensive player on that line right now, I would say. I mean, Aho's good, but I think Blake is getting to the point where he can create turnovers like I've never seen. And it's unbelievable. His back pressure, he's always back on the play. Had a couple more last night where he just didn't give up, and he didn't stop the back check. And I think so I think you stick with that crew. I like when they bumped up Hall onto the on the other side of maybe I think it was Svechnikov and
Yeah, it was him and it was Kokaniemi,
yeah,
Svechnikov,
I
and Hall
I
that was
like
line
that
single.
look. I think, you know, I don't know what to.
I think Hall
I think
deserves
he
it.
does
I mean,
too.
he
I think
showed he showed that he
yeah.
can be fast and, win puck battles on the
So
wall for
I think
sure.
that would be probably if you're gonna look at a line switch, Kyle. I think the only one you're gonna see potentially different in the lineup card on Tuesday, I think you'll see Hall on that second line. Um, outside of him starting, I think he started on the fourth line with Roslovic
Mm,
and I don't remember who Robinson, yeah.
Robinson, I think.
So, but again, all up and down the lineup, I think once they start to gel a little bit, I mean, it's gonna be good. And people out there listening that, they say, "Okay, MikKo Rantanen, superstar." Not knowing the game like I think the 3 of us know the game is how do you say, "Okay, well, why is he a superstar? He didn't look like a superstar last night." So I think all I can say to that question is just wait because it's going to take a little bit of time, but once it hits, you guys are going to be like, "Holy shit, this is unbelievable!" And it's coming because you saw it even progressively throughout that game. He was getting those soft areas, he was getting those shots, and I mean, I don't know how Hogberg or whatever his name is. I don't know how he stopped a couple of them, but he did. He's been playing well. So
I mean, Rantanen
yeah,
hit the post, like, he
yeah.
almost had
Yep.
one, so it's gonna happen, and I don't know how many games that the Canes play before, the the in-season
Yeah.
at Four
Me and
Nations.
Cam were talking about this yesterday, but Cam,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I mean, you think about coming out of Four Nations, I mean, Aho and Rantanen are probably gonna be on the same line
Mhm.
together, I would assume, in Four Nations. I think they play what do they play,
Six,
like, s
six
6
guaranteed. Yeah.
guaranteed
So
and then possibly 8 kinda thing? Or is it possibly 7? Something like that.
just
Um,
six guaranteed. So there's
what about the final?
so there's a final and a consolation final. So there's
Oh,
each team
okay, so
plays a
there's
six
okay.
games. Yeah.
So that's 6 free games Aho and Ranton get to play together. That doesn't affect the
So
Canes'
they'll play.
points in the standing,
Yeah,
so
before coming back from the break, while the rest of the team will have had 6 games with MikKo Rantanen, Sebastian Aho will have played 12 games on his line. So me and Cam were talking about this. I don't think like that is so. I mean, basically, by the time the Four Nations is over, there's going to be 25, 30 games left in the season. Sebastian Aho and
Yeah.
MikKo Rantanen are almost going to play an entire season on the same line together. So by the end of the season, those guys should be 100% just
Yeah.
gelled, connected. The only thing I would change possibly on that top line, I agree with everything you say on Jackson Blake. I just personally think that there's a player that is almost the exact identical copy and paste player, but just a little bit older and a little bit better, in my opinion, right now. I would still bump Jarvis up to that line. And the only reason I'm saying that is because while Jackson Blake has done everything to be where he's at right now, I don't want to diminish his ice time. It is not what I'm doing at all. I know it kind of sounds like what I'm trying to do, but like it's not what I want to do. It's just I think Seth Jarvis gives us a little bit more of a mature look up on that top line. And then on top of that, I don't think Jarvis is going to have such a hard time taking a shot when MikKo Rantanen's not open, where I think Blake's going to continue to struggle with taking that shot, even if MikKo's slightly covered. Like, if MikKo's slightly covered, he's going to try and always force it over to
Yeah.
him because it's MikKo Rantanen. You're 21 years old and you don't want to piss off the guy that's an NHL superstar. But at, 24, 25, it's like, hey, we got to do this together. It's more of a team thing. It's just, I feel like a little bit more of a maturity level. I wouldn't mind seeing Jarvis in that area. Granted, Jarvis is 23. It's only 2 years
Yeah.
difference, but I don't know about you guys, but I just feel like that might bring a little bit of a different element to us. The other thing too, are we just kind of putting Roslovic on the fourth line and keeping him there? Because, I mean, we want to talk about if Rantanen's been known for an assist guy. Yes, he's gotten 55 goals before. He's been a 30 goal getter for 5 seasons or something like that. But you go look at his assist numbers. He's got like 400 and something assists in the NHL out of his 600 points. So majority of them assist. Why wouldn't we put him with a shooter like Roslovic?
Yeah.
I mean, just call me crazy, but like all of a sudden MikKo doesn't have to be the shooter. He can just find Roslovic. And I will give Jack Roslovic a ton of credit. Not very great on the forecheck, not very great defensively. I'll give him 2 of those. It struggles there. But about finding soft ice and being able to get a shot off quickly, there are few guys in the league that can do it like he can.
He's got an elite shot. There's no doubt about that.
He does.
So, but I think the only challenge with that is then you put the full burden of the defensive coverage on Aho, and I think that's
100%.
where you get into a little bit of a muddy water with that top line not having that defensive presence in the work of a Jarvis or a Blake or one of those guys, a guy like that. So, but I 1,000,000% agree with you that Roslovic has an elite shot, and if he had somebody that could feed him the puck, oof, I tell you, he's lethal because he can find an area. I wouldn't say he's as good a shot as Rantanen has once he gets going. But man, I tell you, he'll find a spot on, like the goal last night. I mean, it was just I don't think he had much room, and he just put it in under the bar, but that's just what he does. And but again, he's soft in the other zone. So I I could put him there. You run with it and see what happens, but I think you give up defensively. So you got to make sure you got a real strong defensive pair out there when that line's on the ice.
Now, I know this doesn't really help with the defense side. What about Svetch? Cam, I'll pass this one over to you. Would you put Svetch up on that top line? And then you have Hall and Blake on the second line with Kotkaniemi?
Probably not. I like the Svetch and Kotkaniemi. I think they play well together. I liked the second line, honestly. I don't think you changed the second line. I thought that was one of our top two lines played well. Like, I really do think they played well. I really think if you're not gonna play Jarvis on the top line, try him at center.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very like, if you're not gonna play him with the top guys, please try him at second line center or something. Like, just try it. Like, that's all I'm asking for is for them to try it because we know how defensively responsible he is. I mean, he's plays on the kill pretty much, and now at this point now he's on every single penalty kill. He's one of the 4 rotating forwards that are really on that kill.
He's been playing with Aho pretty much all year now.
I know. That's what I mean. He's been playing with Aho there. He's been on a line with Aho for years now. I mean, he's the leading goal scorer on the team right now. So he's the shooter. That's how I look at it. Like, he can be the shooter on any line that he wants to go to. Put him in between, Svetch and even put him between Svetch and Hall if you want to, but I mean, I don't really want to break up that second line, but if it was to be broken up, I would be okay with Jarvis being the center iceman. But again, until they figure out that center ice position, I think a lot's going to be desired from these lines. I feel like they're going to kind of struggle because they're going to be in the D zone a lot because they're not going to have possession of the puck. So that's another thing is, until they can get to that 50%, 55% in the circle mark, consistently against pretty much every team, they're going to struggle to get offensive zone time for sure. So I think Svetch would be interesting on the first line. I also want Rantanen to play right wing, even though he's left-handed, because that's where he plays. That's where he's played. Well, they started him left wing.
No, they started him right wing. And then they flipped. The opening faceoff, he was on the right side. Blake was on the left side.
Oh, was he? Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad they did that then. But yeah, the only issue with putting Jarvis on that line is he's right-handed. So
is Blake.
You're having. Oh, is Blake? He's right-handed too? I thought he was left-handed.
No, Blake's right-handed.
Okay, well, never mind. Yeah, I mean, just throw Jarvis up there. If you're not going to throw him up there, play him in center. There's your center iceman.
Yeah,
right there.
And again, just to go back to the face-off thing, the Islanders are the only team to have all 4 center icemen in the top 40 face-off winning percentage, and they're all over 55%. So again, you're talking a very big vacuum in that certain game. I want to see what the face-off does continue past this point, but the Islanders are the number 1 team in the NHL at face-offs. They're going to beat everybody. You go to Florida, they're going to win the face-off battle in Florida. They're going to win it everywhere. They just have 4 guys that can win face-offs. Really, they have 4 Rod Brind'Amours. No matter what game he's going to go into, he's going to win 60% of his face-off. Like, just kind of that kind of a player. We have one of those too, Jordan Staal. He just had a terrible night last night in the face-off circle.
And it really wasn't even that bad. He was only 40%.
For Jordan Staal, that's a terrible
Aho was 30%. Kotkaniemi was 12. Like, There was, I mean,
No, I know, but for Stahl, that's 25 points off of where he normally is. He's usually like a 60 to 65% guy in the faceoff circle.
Yeah.
Now he's at 40, so that's a 20% drop off. Where Aho's always at 33%, so that's bag on. Kokiniemi is another 20 plus point drop off because he's usually at like 40, 45% in the faceoff.
Yeah, he's
circle.
usually closer to 50.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Again, I think it was more of an anomaly than anything else. That again, the Islanders had just have an absolute killer center ice when it comes to winning faceoffs.
Yeah, as you guys used to say, or I don't know who the hell says this, but their center ice position is a wagon because they're so good. They are just
at winning faceoffs.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
So
they're not very good at much.
But again,
they're good at winning.
But again, you need that. If you have everything else, the supporting cast, and man, that's a dynamite team. So if they plug in a couple of key support factors that are going to allow you to take advantage of that puck possession, man, I tell you what, they're going to be good because they're not really great defensively, but they're and they got decent goaltending. But man, if you can figure out a way to keep that puck possession. And it's like in the overtime. I mean, Stahl won both faceoffs in overtime, but the problem is last night is where we missed Marty Necas. In especially in overtime with all that open ice,
the speed factor. Yeah, the speed carrying
because you put
Aho
out there with Rantanen, and they really didn't know what to do, and they hadn't really talked, maybe not had talked about it, not practiced it, not done anything because he was it was just like there was no speed to that flow. So that's where you really saw a Marty Necas vacuum or void in our lineup. Was in the extra time for sure.
Yes, I would like to revisit that after 3 more overtimes with those two guys playing together.
That's what I mean.
I agree. I'm not saying that it's going to continue that way. I'm just saying that they didn't know. They didn't know
in the one game last night. Yes, if we had Marty Necas over MikKo, we probably come out on the winning end of that overtime exchange. I think again, if this deal would have happened on Wednesday instead of on Friday, and the guys would have had 2 days practice with each other, then it probably is a whole different ballgame. But it just happens the day before a game. I'm so surprised Marty Necas and Jack Drury played in a 1 o'clock start the next morning. That's a wild thing.
Too.
Or the next day.
They played a lot.
Hats off to them. Marty Necas played his career high in
25 minutes.
He played 26 minutes and 24 seconds.
Wow.
Granted, when you're on a line with McKinnon, they only play 3 lines. So the 4th line played 5.5 minutes.
The 4th line doesn't play at all.
No.
So
it's
but yeah, I mean,
but that's it. Hold on.
Who knows how much?
Great segue.
Yeah.
Let's go to around the league. So that's where we'll kind of table the Canes talk for right now. Any final thoughts on the Canes game, or any final thoughts on what we need to do for the Rangers game?
No, I think everybody just needs to just be patient, because this is going to be good.
Yeah,
this is really good.
Give it. Hey, they still got a point last night.
Give it.
Like
5,
we lose sight of that.
games
Like they still got a point.
Yeah.
So, and we still have 1 game in hand on the Devils, and we're I think 1 point ahead of them, or 2 points still. So, listen, it's going to take some time. If you can weather this next, 4 or 5 games.
5 games after the 5th game mark, we're going to be rolling with some gas, gravy, and oil.
We'll say after the 4 Nations.
Oh yeah. Honestly, after Four Nations,
sure.
It's going to be a whole different ball game, because again, Rantanen and Aho are going to have time to sit together and play with each other. That sounded really weird.
They've on here now.
You never know. Hey, that's up.
Like a turd with sprinkles. You just never know.
Oh man, yeah. Sit together. Yeah, no, but I saw a Canes fan, and they're with the Taylor Hall trade. They're like, you misspelled Teuvo Teravainen, and I'm like, could you imagine those 3 guys on the top line together? Oh, that'd be lethal. But no, I honestly wouldn't. Another name, and I kind of brought it up possibly. I know we were going to go to around the league, but I just have one other question. Would you ever see Taylor Hall on that left wing side for that first line?
Wow, that's a good concept.
Another 40 goal guy who has won a Hart. He's got 90 plus points once in his career. He's had 80 plus point seasons pretty much a good chunk of his career. He's a first overall draft pick. He played really well last night. I don't know. I mean, maybe just me, but I thought he was one of our.
But again, I think he was helped with line matchups too. like kind of like Dad was saying, if he was going
he was on the
against top
second line
line
for the whole third period. I still thought he was our
No, I
most
know, but
effective forward.
I know, but you like some teams, their first line and their second line, there's a big
I
difference
agree with
between
that.
their best defensive line at home
Yeah.
versus their second
Yeah.
best
I
defensive
agree.
line at home. There could be a huge difference. So I think you keep them. I think you keep that line together. And if Hall shows that he is performing well, and whoever's running that other wing with Aho and Ranton is not,
He'll
then
get the
yeah,
bump.
I mean, he obviously has a shot. But I think for now, it's got to be either Blake or Jarvis that is up there with them.
Yep.
So
Okay. Fair enough. I just wanted to post that up. But we will go around the league. I do think it's probably good to start in because we just kind of me and Cam both watched the game yesterday. So we'll go over to Colorado and just kind of talk a little bit of their situation, and then we can talk a little bit kind of because I know me and Cam both watched the Colorado Bruins game yesterday. I'll tell you what, if you want to talk about it takes time to gel with new teams. You watch that Colorado game, you watch that Canes game, both teams end up coming out on the losing end. Both teams didn't look like themselves. There's a reason. It's going to take some time to adjust, and so it's not just a symptom of Carolina. And now, granted, I think Carolina added better pieces than Colorado did because you go and look, like McKinnon couldn't find Natchez to save his life. Natchez was trying to force everything to McKinnon, and it's just going to take some time to get back accustomed to it. But me and Cam were laughing the other day. I'll tell you what, man, McKinnon's got the shortest fuse I've ever seen. He looked like he was about to
he's gonna
lose
light up
his
Marty Natchez.
mind on
You
Marty
give him,
Natchez.
yeah. If Marty plays that way for like over probably 2 games,
he probably is getting like a 2 or 3 game window,
Nate
and then
Dogg's
he's getting
gonna be in
yelled
his
at by
ear.
Nate Dogg.
Yeah, he's gonna be carving him up. I don't know how Natchez is gonna handle that. Honestly, he's never had a teammate like that before. Really,
Yeah.
I mean that's gonna because everybody knows
He's gonna
like, McKinnon's an
demand.
intense guy. Like he's gonna demand Rantanen level from this guy.
I don't think he's going to demand Rantanen level, but he's going to demand you work your ass off every fucking game. And Marty Natchez, we all know, goes through these flows where he doesn't want to work and he doesn't want to do the hard things. And then when he does, he's an unbelievably good player. I mean, Jack Drury said it best. He has spurts. He literally said this, and he said, there's some times where he's the greatest skilled player I've seen in the NHL. And it's just like, he just has to do it more consistently. And I'm like, that's the exact best way to say it. Like,
that's why he got traded.
He's got spurts where he's unbelievably good, but he just goes through these other spurts where he's like, "Ooh, man, he doesn't want to do anything." And it's like you're not going to last very long with Nate Dogg as your center iceman doing that.
He's going to be chewing.
Yeah, no, and it's really
line.
quite honestly, it's what Marty needed. I mean, he needs somebody that's going to hold him on the carpet and say, this shit that just not going to work this way. And, he can't have his dad's not going to be in his corner saying, he needs more ice time, needs more
Yeah, he's getting
first
26
power
minutes.
play.
Like,
How much more ice time do you want,
Yeah.
man? I was like, now you got to step up. And I think that's going to be the message from McKinnon. And to go back to your comment earlier about, and we're going to not segue off, but about Jackson Blake trying to force feed because he's the 21-year-old to Rantanen. I think excuse me, what's going to have to happen there is honestly, it's Rantanen's going to have to say to Blake, said, look, man, if you got it, take it. That's all it's going to take. It's if you have it, take it. I was like, I'm there for you. Boom, done. And then I tell you, that line's going to take off. But to go back to Natchez, he needs that kind of mentorship, and he needs a guy in his ear chewing him up. And he didn't have that here. And maybe the trade's more beneficial for
McKinnon
more beneficial for him because it may take him to that next level that he can get to. He hadn't gotten there yet, but who knows? But we'll see. But I agree. McKinnon's he's a junkyard dog, man. He's not going to let you slide in any way, shape, or form.
Nope. You have to be 100% bought in.
You have to be.
Can't be 99%. You got to be 100%. If you're 99%, he's in your ear. He's whispering to you.
Yeah, I know. He's screaming at you in front of everybody. There's been, obviously, we know all the stories of stuff between him and Rantanen that has gone on in the past where they get into, kind of pissing matches with each other. But yeah, I mean, he's an intense guy, and I mean, he has a right to be. I mean, he's cup winner, basically the second best player in the NHL, I think. I mean, the
there's
only one
times
better,
where he's
obviously,
the
is
first. I mean, there's
I know,
times
that's
where
what I
he's better
mean.
than
So
McDavid, even when they're both playing at their top level. McKinnon is that dominant. And the only difference between the two, really, in my opinion, one's left-handed, one's right-handed, and one's a hell of a lot heavier than the other one is. Like, McKinnon's thick, and he plays thick.
Dude. He's good,
Yeah.
man. He's so good. But yeah, I mean, it's going to take time with them too. But it's again, it's going to go one of two ways for Marty. Really, it's either he's going to find the consistency and kind of become that 80, 90 point guy that really McKinnon kind of needs,
or he's getting traded before the deadline.
Batman, or he's going to get dished before the deadline.
Before the deadline
because he's basically going to be like, I can't handle this guy. Like, send me to Arizona. They don't even have a team anymore. Send me there. They don't. Like he's going to be fed up with it. So
McKinnon,
we'll see how he responds to it. He's never really responded well to, I don't know, that kind of
Kyle,
stuff,
you could do some construction work over there.
I know.
Sorry, I'll mute. Sorry, my microphone's about to fall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Doing yard work. But yeah, no, I mean, it's it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I'm hoping he succeeds, but I guess my heart, I guess if you want to say it, is leaning towards that he's going to hate it.
Yeah, I think he's always been given the gold star. He's always been given all the, given everything that, you're great. And when somebody chirps in your ear saying, look, dude, you're not as great as you think you are,
Yeah, and on a team with a guy who can really look at him in the face and say, "You think you're better than me?"
Yeah, exactly.
Like literally look him eye to eye and be like, "You're never going to be better than me." Like, and McKinnon will do that, and I think he does need to do that.
He does it with Bednard. I mean, he'll sit on the bench and chew his ass.
I mean, he did it with Rantanen. Like he does it with everybody.
Yeah, when you can shit talk MikKo Rantanen and it actually sticks because you are genuinely better. That's wild.
That's what
I mean. There's one player that McKinnon possibly couldn't do that to, and that's McDavid. And that's again,
I think the other player he couldn't do that to. There's only one other player,
Sidney Crosby.
I think.
Yeah, I don't think he
ever would because I think he's got way too much respect for Sid.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's probably two players, and I think Sid's probably he may be heading west to the west. I think either.
That's all up to Sid. Sid's come out 3 times in the past week saying he doesn't want to go anywhere.
Look, everybody always says, he's our coach. He's this, that, and the other. They come out in the media. They say he's our coach. We got full support, trust. Next day he's fired. So I mean, I put a little bit of stock in the commentary that's in there, but I think if Sid had the opportunity to close out his career with McKinnon, I think he would do it. I think he would. To win another cup, I think he would try to do. I think he would do it.
I think to him, the most valuable, he's won everything. He's won Olympic gold. He's won 3 Stanley Cups. He's won Hearts. He's won Rockets. He's won absolutely everything and anything you can do. One thing he wants to do, and he's made it very abundant from the beginning of his career to the end of his career, he wants to be a one-team player. That's very few players in NHL history have gone from start to finish.
Let's not forget this, though. He's also a team player. So if the team, the organization, the Pittsburgh Penguins can get value for the longevity of the program, of the team and the organization, I think Sid would do it for that reason alone, that if they were able to get draft picks, they were able to get prospects, if they were able to get things for the next generation, I think he would consider it. I think that would be the reason in my mind where he would consider it.
Okay, so then my question to you is that what is Sidney Crosby fetching? Because in my opinion, it's a draft pick and a prospect, and it's probably a 2nd round draft pick and a top prospect.
But when you don't have anything, it's better than nothing. So if he retires, you don't get anything. So if you can get even a 2nd round pick, because Pittsburgh's, I mean, they gave away the farm to get what they have. So they're in a world of hurt. So you start building one at a time, even if you get a 2nd or a 2nd and a 3rd and a prospect or something, you're starting to build back that foundation that you don't have right now. And I think that's where Sid can see beyond Sid saying he wants to be a Penguin for life, which I applaud him if he wants to do that. Hey, stay there. It doesn't matter to me. But I think he's more of a team guy than that, and I think he'll take that into account when he says, "Okay, they really need me to get traded because of this reason," and I think he would do it.
Yeah, like I said, because he has a full 32 or 31 team no move clause or whatever it is. It's 31 because he's on one of the teams, so he can't get traded to his own team. But so he's got a full 31 team no move clause. So if I'm the Pittsburgh Penguins and I'm going to ask him for a trade, I need him to just release the trade, like release his whole 32 team no trade clause so I can actually get a good deal out of it. Because if he comes out and says, okay, they want to trade me, that's fine. I'm only going to Colorado. We're going to get the Patty Kane to Chicago where you get a 4th and a 5th. Like, is that really going to help the Pittsburgh Penguins?
Yeah,
no, it's not going to help.
No,
them.
I know, and I think that would obviously be conditional. Quite honestly, if there was a favorable trade that he would consider it. I think he's got enough. I think he's got enough with the ownership group and the management team there that he can sit down and say, "Look, these are the teams I want to go to, but it's got to be a good trade for you guys." Because if it's a good trade, then I will release my no trade clause to that team. So I think he can do it indirectly and open it up and say, look, you guys can talk to all 30 teams or all 31 teams. And at the end of the day, if somebody comes back with an exceptional offer, let me see it. And if it's favorable for me and you, then let's do it. And I think that's where they would have that discussion outside of him coming out and saying, I'm releasing my no trade clause, so I'm talking to everybody. So it's between him and the management group that's going to say that they can do that outside of me releasing myself from the 31 teams, no trade clause. So I just think that he's a team guy first, and always has been, and he always will be. And I think that's the way around rebuilding the Pittsburgh Penguins, because they're an absolute dumpster fire, and they're just not good, and they won't be good for years to come because they don't have anything.
Yeah, in my personal opinion, you can't trade away Sidney Crosby when he's made it explicitly that he doesn't want to leave, and not trade away, or try to at least trade away Letang, Malkin, and Karlsson. To me, you have to trade away those 3 guys first in order to actually go to Crosby and be like, listen, we really need to get some more assets back. We're going into a full-blown rebuild. You're the last guy,
and I think they will. I think they will do that. I think they'll try that, honestly.
I don't think you're going to be able to get rid of Malkin. I don't think you're going to be able to get rid of Letang, and I don't think you're going to be able to get rid of Karlsson. Pittsburgh can't retain any contract. They don't have the cap space for it. Not any team's going to be able to take on Karlsson's $10 million. Not very many teams are going to take on Letang's $7.5 million, and not very many teams are going to take on Malkin's $7.5 million. So the only player that they would take on is Crosby at 8.7, because that's still a fair deal for Sidney Crosby. The issue is that if I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, and the one guy that's made it explicit that he wants to play his entire career here, if that's the one guy you're choking out, basically, I would be a bullshit. I'd be like, okay, well, fuck, like Dubas, go screw yourself. Like, what are you doing? Because again, he's the only reason that they're still in a remote fighting chance for a playoff spot right now. He's the only reason.
Yeah.
It's not any of the other 3 guys. And so if they get rid of Crosby, their team is complete and utter dog shit. And then on top of that, they're not going to get, no matter what we say, they're not going to get a fair return for Sidney Crosby. Even if they open the entire thing up, he's a 38-year-old player with 1 more year left on his contract. After that 1 more year, I genuinely think he's going to retire. He's going to retire at 40 years old, and that's going to be his number. There's no part in my brain that sits here and goes, Crosby wants another cup bad enough to where he wants to get rid of this idea of, look what Pittsburgh has built. They had Lemieux for his entire career. He never got traded, never moved on, won 5 cups with them, won every trophy in the book with them, did everything he could with, won 4 cups with them, did everything in the book he could with them. Crosby wants to be that next legacy guy. He's going to pass Lemieux for points in Pittsburgh history if he stays on the Penguins. So he's going to be the all-time leading point getter in Pittsburgh Penguins history. with a guy like Mario Lemieux as second. Arguably the second greatest player to ever play the game. Some people say the first greatest player, the greatest player to ever play the game. Had he not gotten sick and had to miss a couple seasons, I've heard people say that he was better than Gretzky on his day. So we're talking about that level of player that he can beat out to be the franchise leader in. He's been the captain the longest in Pittsburgh Penguins history. There's no part of my brain that's going, Sidney Crosby wants to move out.
Look, I'm not saying that he wants to, and I'm not saying they want to get rid of. All I'm saying is that of the guys on that team, he is the only guy that would be a team guy first and even consider a trade. That's all I'm saying. Is that he's the guy. I'm not saying that he wants to be traded. I'm not saying the team wants to trade him. I'm saying he's the only guy, being a team guy first, that would consider or entertain a trade with anybody, even with his no trade clause. So, and I don't disagree with you. The other guys need to go first. But he, of the group, he would be the only one that would consider a trade.
I hear you. I understand. But you guys got anything else around the NHL that you guys want to discuss?
No, not really. I mean, we kind of hammered the trade situation out, but I mean, just to wrap on the Crosby thing, basically, like I don't foresee him leaving. For sure, I don't really think he's going to leave unless management forces him to leave. They basically pull a Barclay Goodrow and be like, "We're going to waive you."
That's what I think, and then all of a sudden
you're going to leave.
Dubas is fired.
Now, well, but again, if track record is indication of Dubas getting fired, he would have already been fired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he is the worst GM in the NHL. And there are some really bad GMs out there.
I know. I was going to say
really bad.
Kyle Davidson is pretty bad.
Like, there's really bad GMs.
The asset management Chicago has done the past 5 years has been horrendous.
I know. Yeah, they've been really bad too. But
management.
But Pittsburgh, as far as asset management and not understanding what you're walking into situation wise, I mean, Dubas couldn't have had his head buried further in the sand.
The Carlson deal right when he signed was the worst thing he could have done.
That literally put a nail in his coffin. He wasn't even, I don't even think he was ever alive in Pittsburgh.
He hadn't had a GM
was already
game.
In his coffin.
He hadn't had a GM game coach or whatever, been a GM for a game
he hadn't even been in charge for one
his
game
entire tenure at Pittsburgh by signing Carlson.
But again, I mean, obviously hindsight's, the favored here, but you never would have known that Carlson was just going to be a shell of himself and what he was at, in San Jose, really. I mean, he just came off a win of the Norris.
Yeah, after having 4 seasons of being a very average defenseman. It was like a flash in the pan type of thing. I could have told you he probably wasn't going to do that again.
Yeah. I mean, again, he's an aging guy. I mean, he's always been kind of up and down, I feel like, for most of his career. It's been, good season here, bad season here. But yeah, I think so. It really just depends on what the management team and the owners of Pittsburgh want to do. Do they want to just say, look, we can't keep living in limbo here. We got to go into a full rebuild and just kind of like Dubas was saying, it's fire sale. Like, do they want to make it a fire sale? Which Dubas has made it clear it's a fire sale. He said that. He's like, look, everything's got to go, 80% off, whatever. Just get everything gone is basically what he's been saying. So if that's the case, you got to get rid of everybody.
Yeah,
everyone. You can't leave guys. You can't leave pieces here and there. You got to ship everybody. And that means Carlson, Malkin, Letang, Crosby. They have to go. If they really want to rebuild, they got to do it. Or they're just going to be in this limbo state for the next 3 years.
Yeah. The only other player that I think has a ton of trade bait from Pittsburgh, and because of where his contract sits, because of what he's done production wise this year, and due to his age being definitely younger than the people that we previously discussed, Rickard Rakell is on a very nice contract. He is on pace to have 45 goals this season, almost 50 goals this season.
Drew O'Connor's really good too.
You want to talk about trade bait? That's your trade bait. Out of everybody, I mean, Rickard Rakell is he will because of his contract. I could genuinely see him fetching a first rounder. A later first rounder on a team that is a Stanley Cup contender, adding a guy that's on pace to put up 45 goals, and this is just hypothetical. A team like Tampa, they don't need their first rounder this year. They're all set. They're kind of all in. But they add a guy like Rickard Rakell for some depth scoring, they would probably be willing to part with a first and a prospect for Rickard Rakell. All of a sudden, that's a lot more return you're going to get than even Crosby, in my opinion. I just don't think you're going to get return for Crosby because of how hard it's going to be to hammer out a deal that he's going to accept, the team's going to like, and the other team's going to like. There's going to have to be 3 moving parts into the whole thing. I just don't think that ever happens. Rickard Rakell is on a modified no-move clause. I think he's got a 10 team. You have open capability to really just talk with a bunch of teams about him, and a lot of teams are probably interested in a Rickard Rakell.
Yeah, no, I mean, and he's a little bit older too. Like he's 31, so he's not a young guy that you would want to build your team around.
No, it's an asset piece. And it's a Phil Kessel going to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's an asset piece for Pittsburgh. He's definitely a guy. I mean, the thing with Pittsburgh is they really, if I'm the GM, I want to hold on to the young talent, the young proven talent, as much of it as I can.
Look at Washington.
I think Drew O'Connor is going to be a great player. Look at what Carberry and Washington have done, and Barry Trotz have done in Washington. I mean, they've literally just said, okay, we lost. Wow, what was his name? Jesus, Nick Backstrom. Oh, we lost Backstrom. Oh, well, here's Alexi Protas, Connor McMichael, Dylan Strome. Yep. Like you plug and play, basically. Basically what the Canes have been doing for the last 5 or 6 years, kind of just plug and play and still being one of the best teams in the league. I think, dude, who beats Washington? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, they're tough.
They're too good.
I think playoff inexperience beats Washington.
I think that's about the only thing that could stop them right now.
I genuinely, I think playoff inexperience, and I think that if you go look at their shooting percentage across the board outside of Alex Ovechkin, it's really high right now. They're playing defense way above average. Their goaltenders are 1 and 2 and or not really 1 and 2, but they're in the top 10 for saves above expected. So it's you want to know where I think Washington is at. You go back to not the first season Carolina made playoffs again. That was kind of Washington of last year, where they kind of galvanized right at the end of the season, made a run, and then got snuck into playoffs. They didn't have the same success Carolina did their first season. But go look at Carolina's second season. Won the Metro. We were 2 points outside of the President's Trophy. All of a sudden, it was a massive turnaround. We get bounced in the second round, and it's all because a lot of our young guys hadn't really done it. And we were lightning hot. And then if you remember, we were first by, I think it was like 10 or 15 points that season. First, clear away in first. We lost, I think in the last 25 games of the season, we lost 20 of them. We were like 5-20. It just felt like we couldn't win anything for the last half. I'm exaggerating. I know I am. It was probably closer to like 9-13 or whatever. But we went on a crazy skid. And then we get to the first round. We sneak out against the Islanders and then get trounced by the Rangers in the second round. I don't know if that was the same playoffs. I could be wrong in that regard too.
Yeah, no.
But you get my point. It's just like that's where I feel like Washington is they are having an electric start to the season. I don't foresee them holding on to this same
electric season.
Yes, but still we're halfway through the season. So the second half of the season could be a very different outcome where teams have played 47 games. So they're 4 games past the halfway point of the season. There's still a lot of season left to where Washington has a losing record the second half. They could be the third, maybe the wild card team going into playoffs. Like there's still so much season.
Yeah, I know. We said that last week. I think we were talking about do they continue the pace, and it's sort of, you don't know, man. Carberry's doing an awesome job. I mean, he's a good coach,
exceptional as of right now.
He's Jack Adams
award winner. Yes.
If he doesn't win the Jack Adams, the award's rigged. It's just somebody's paying somebody to give somebody who else the award. I don't know who else you give it to.
Yeah,
seriously. Like who else?
There was one.
We could give it to Laviolette just as a consolation. Like what are we going to do?
There was one other team. Hold on. There was one other team that's doing way above expected right now. Sorry, give me 1 second.
I mean, there's some teams that are like electric that I like to watch now, like San Jose. I like enjoy watching San Jose play. I think they got a lot of young guys.
Oh, yes.
They're still missing some pieces, but
they were talking about Calgary's head coach.
No.
They're
way.
in the second wild card spot. They have 3 games at hand on every team around them. They were supposed to be dead last in the Pacific, and now they're fighting for a playoff spot. He's having a hell of a turnaround. You talk about last season, they were, I think, second last in the Pacific, and now all of a sudden they're fighting for I mean, I'm not saying he's going to win. I think Carberry's done a better job. But look at Carberry last year. He's got his team into playoffs. Now they're having success again. And it's like, yes, I still think Carberry's the dead front runner. But Carberry was also in the top 3 for Jack Adams last year because of what he did with Washington. Yeah. He clawed their way into playoffs. The coach for Calgary, I don't know the guy's name. I know it's a newer guy, but he's doing the same thing with Calgary. He's getting a group that really shouldn't. I mean, yeah, they have players. They shouldn't be playing at the level that they're at, and they're doing an exceptional job. So you can't take that away from them. They've played less games and they have more points than half the teams. They're 5 points clear in the playoffs and in the wildcard spot. So they're 5 points ahead of the other team with 3 games at hand. So
his name is Ryan Huska.
Ryan Huska. Okay.
Yeah, he was their assistant coach since 2018. So they're sort of a homegrown head coach, I guess you'll call it.
But that's
promotion.
That's my only other
right.
Outside of that, Spencer Carberry is the front runner, head shoulders away from everybody else.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think it's like he has like an 85-90% chance to win it.
I would
now, unless they just completely implode. If they do that, then all right. I mean, I could see another guy jumping in there, but I just don't see them doing that. You know, I mean, we were talking beginning of the season. I think we had them, 6th in the Metro, like towards the bottom.
Yeah, I thought that last year was like a flash in the pan type of ordeal.
That's what I mean. It's like everybody this year had them kind of where Calgary was, like towards the bottom of their division. And they're first by 10 points at this point?
Yeah.
They keep winning. They don't lose. And they've been doing it now for
half a season,
4 or 5 months,
half a season,
over half the season. You know, that to me, that shows they know how to win. They know how to win consistently, and they have the tools in place to be able to win long term. So I don't see them not finishing the season top of the Metro. I have a hard time believing that. But
I still think Carolina wins out the Metro. Again, I think Washington has a slide. I think New Jersey is sliding currently.
Yeah, and they lost Markstrom too, so they lost their top goaltender.
That's a massive loss.
That's a huge.
Yeah, they lose him until after 4 Nations, I believe.
Me personally, I think Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren are exceptional goaltenders. I think that they're playing otherworldly right now. I think they're going to cool off ever so slightly. There's going to be a ripple in the armor at some point because there are very, very few goalies that have perfect seasons where they don't go through stretches where they struggle. And these 2 guys have had near perfect seasons so far. And then you go look at the shooting percentages. There are guys on their team that are shooting at like a 30% clip right now. Every 3rd shot they take is going into the back of the net. That will digress as well too. They're just the NHL.
Maybe
the NHL average is 13%. Nikita Kucherov is one of the best shooters in the NHL. He averages about 13 to 15% on a given year. 30% is astronomical.
Yeah,
like that is crazy. So it's just it's a high percentage. So. And we look at, and that was the same argument that everybody had with Marty Necas at the beginning of the year. He was shooting at like a 42% clip, and it's like every basically 2.5 shots, he was scoring a goal. That cools off. And I think that there's guys on that team that it's going to cool off. What's happened for them so far is when guys are cooled off, other guys have gotten really hot. And then it's been kind of this climbing thing where at a certain point, the well's going to run out a little bit. The puck luck's not going to bounce your way every single time. And a lot more guys are going to go cold at once than just like a line at a time, where I think they are going to finish in the top 3 of the Metro. I think they're going to finish second in the Metro. They could still finish first if they keep it up, they're going to finish first because they're going to win the damn President's Trophy. But I don't, they have Alex Ovechkin. That's a star-studded name. Outside of that, they have really good guys. And even that, Alex Ovechkin's not the same Alex Ovechkin that we've seen in the past. I just think that there's going to be a regression at some point. And if I'm wrong, happy days for them. But I don't see this being a year-long 82 games, they have a Boston Bruins type season.
Yeah, well, again, we'll see. We'll see that the second half of the season is going to be telltale for those guys. But right now they have some incredible depth, and they're
100%.
getting every bit out of that depth. And Carberry's doing a exceptional job. So but we'll see how it goes. The second half is always telling for us, anyways. Is how the real meat and potatoes of the season starts after January 1. And we'll see how they finish out the season. And I think we're heading. We had a bit of a skid. We're heading into that second half of the season. That's going to be really important, and we're getting there. And I'm glad we get this trade out of the way early, so these guys have.
That's what
we have some time to get these guys into the lineup, into the fold, and to learn the process, learn the system, because it's gonna. The Gensel experience was too late in the process. And I think that was
I don't think he got comfortable until about the second round of playoffs, and by that point it was already too late.
Yeah,
so yeah, 100% agree. All right, so we're gonna leave that talk for now, and we're gonna kind of wrap this show up here. So final kind of thoughts, and we're gonna go do the 3 stars of the week real quick as well too. So Dad, I'll pass it over to you first for the 3 stars. Who do you got?
I kind of waffled on this one a little bit, but I think I kind of based on the last handful of performances, I'm gonna give. We don't normally do this. I don't think we've done this in a while. Maybe we have. I may be talking out of my ass here, but I'm gonna go Kochetkov on the 3rd star. I think the last 2 games he's played, I thought he played really well last night.
The stats didn't follow him, but I totally agree with you. That was a really good performance. Like he played well.
So, and then second, I'm going to give it to Kokniemi. I think he's had a really good week. And on the score sheet in the D zone, obviously not in the faceoff circle last night, but we'll give him that one. But everything else about his game, I love. It's the heaviness of it, the way he's playing like a big man.
It's starting to round itself out.
When he gets another 20 to 25 pounds of muscle built on him, man, he's going to be a horse.
That's a lot of muscle.
Well, I'm exaggerating, but when he gets a little heavier, he's going to be a horse.
Yeah.
And then first, I got to give it to Jarvis. I think he's been electric all week. Didn't necessarily have a great game last night, but I think up until that point, he was probably our best player. And so that's going to be it for me.
Yeah, I literally have all 3 of those guys in the same spots. Okay. So I can't argue with any 3. I mean, Kochetkov's played the last couple games, he's played out of his head. I mean, Dallas, he literally stood on his head. And won the Canes that game. So, yeah, and then Kokniemi's been consistent. Yeah, like you said, I'm hoping the face-off circle issue last night was just kind of a fluke, and he's going to flush it and be back close to 50%, on Tuesday. And, Jarvis just at this point, he's now the leading goal scorer on the team. So
leading goal scorer.
Oh, is he tied now? With who? Roslovic? Yep. Okay, gotcha.
They both have 18.
So, yeah.
Well,
so
technically speaking, our leading goal scorer is MikKo Rantanen, but
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
He's got 23 on the season so far.
Yeah, but I mean, outside of the trade,
100%, I agree. He's been a very big bright spot the past week and a half too. So
he has, yeah. So ever since he's come back from his injury, he's been really, really, really good every game. So, and I've liked the way he's played. I've liked the way all 3 of those guys have played over the past week and 2 weeks or so. So hopefully they can build on that.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch my 1 and 2. I have KK number 1. I have Jarvis number 2. The only reason I'm doing this is because I thought KK had a more consistent week. I thought Jarvis had a very explosive start to the week, and I thought last night he was not very good. I thought he had a couple rushes, but I don't think it was the Seth Jarvis that we had seen of the previous 3 or 4 games. So I'm going to kind of give KK the nod in the number 1 slot just for that reason, because I feel like consistently, maybe not the same point totals, but man, he has really started to turn a corner, and I know he goes through these stretches. He's a lot like Natchez, but this one feels a little different because he's turned the corner into not just getting the points, but playing the game the correct way. And he's not, he either goes into this really defensive mindset where he doesn't want to give up anything, or he's like thinking offensively, and somehow he's kind of congealed those two pieces of his game together to where he knows that playing really good defense can lead to really good offensive chances. And it's just now a consistency thing. If he can do this the rest of the season, I think we really have our 2C locked in. I know, Cam, I know you're not 100% locked in on that, and I know a lot of it comes down to the faceoff percentage, but what he does defensively, he's really good defensively, and he's underrated. And then he's now bringing that offensive piece of his game as well, too. And he's physical. He's a big centerman, and you need big centermen to win Stanley Cups. And if we could have Aho, Kokiniemi, Stahl, and then we could add maybe a fourth guy into that mix, possibly. But I think KK has the capability to be a 2C at a consistent level. Jarvie, unbelievable week. I think he's done really well. Again, last night was an off night for that whole line. It is a rarity that they have an off night, hence why we didn't rip them apart or have any bad things to say about it, because I'm fully expecting in the Rangers game, that's probably going to be our best line again. So maybe the first line can pick it up, Rantanen and Aho figure it out with Blake, but I think that we're going to see Stahl's line start to dominate again in that New York game. But my third star of the week, I'm kind of teetering on a couple different people. While I still think he has some of the worst turnovers I've ever seen, I actually think Brent Burns had a pretty decent week all around. Not necessarily in the point department, but I felt like defensively he made a couple plays throughout the week where I was like, that's a Brent Burns we want to see. That's a Norris winning Brent Burns. So I thought about him, but my guy of the week, we don't give him enough credit. I think he played okay last night, but I think the rest of the week he had his just very consistent, defensively responsible, great week. I'm going to give my third to Jacob Slavin. I just think that he does so much for this team. And I really think that without him in that back six, we are in a world of fucking hurt. So the importance he brings to the team, he doesn't get enough love, I feel like. So I'm going to give him my third star of the week just to show him some props. But
all right, fair enough. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I can't argue with it.
All right, and then we'll kind of do final thoughts. So we got New York Tuesday, and then what do we got for the rest of the week?
Chicago on Thursday at home.
Chicago Thursday at home,
and then Kings Saturday.
And then a home game on Saturday.
Kings Saturdays. Okay, so we'll with 3 games in 7 days. I like that. It's not going to be too crazy of a schedule. New York game. You change the lineups at all, or are we going the same thing? I know we kind of already talked about this a little bit.
I think we stay. I think we're going to stay the same.
Stay the same.
I think it's going to stay the same as well.
I don't think we're going to change up too much. I think it's just it's a matter of how practice goes. I think the next couple of days, on how flow and feel, and But I think you're going to see a much different look to the top line performance. In my opinion, I think they're going to get on the score sheet multiple times in that game. But the Rangers are playing well right now, so it's going to be it's going to be a tough game, no matter how you look at it. So we'll see how it goes, but we gotta come and start on time. There's no doubt about that.
For sure.
Final question on that Tuesday game: are you still sticking with rotation? Is it Freddie's game, or are you going back to Kochetkov?
You got to go back with Kochetkov. I mean, in my opinion,
he owns the Rangers.
He owns them. So he plays against Shesterkin. I may be wrong. They may go with Freddie, but man, I tell you, I think he needs to play that game, and then Freddie at home against Chicago if they're going to go back to a sort of a week on, week off rotation. So,
and that gives Freddie a full week between games. So,
I mean, we know what they're going to do.
They're going to go with Freddie. Yeah,
they're going to go with Freddie. So it's I don't. My opinion doesn't matter because we know they're going to go with Freddie. So
who should they go
good luck,
with,
Fred.
Though? It should be Kochetkov, right?
It should be, but they're going to go with Freddie. No, so it is what it is.
So, all right. Well, I don't have much on the Chicago game or the LA game, so we'll leave it there, and we'll give you guys the pregame previews. But if you did enjoy, please like, subscribe. If you made it this far, we do really appreciate you guys. Leave comments, do whatever you want to do to interact with the channel. We always appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter or X and on Instagram as well too. I'm still working on making a TikTok page, so we'll get that up and running as well too. So, but from us here at Canes Local, we bid you adieu.